What's your opinion?
I mean, it's not my opinion, it's statistical fact. This is bullshit.
Love him or hate him, Ben Shapiro is an icon in the world of politics, which is why in this video we've compiled 20 of the funniest Ben Shapiro clips. So without further ado, let's just dive straight into today's video. This congresswoman completely dodges Ben's attempt for a conversation.
White people, I didn't know that white privilege actually went into that sphere. My understanding is it's just, and the issue is that white privilege makes people uncomfortable to talk about the societal privilege that they have.
Well, to me, what I say on campuses all the time is if you want to cite instances of racism that we can all find and fight together, that's something that I'm more than willing to stand next to you and fight, because that's obviously stuff that we should fight together. But when you just say that there is a white privilege out there in the ether and that by dint of birth your skin color generates for you an advantage, what you're really saying to people is that your view is less valuable because you have not experienced what I've experienced. And that is an identity argument, that's a character argument, that's not a rational political argument that can actually be taken on in any way. It's more of a cudgel and a club than it is an attempt to open a discussion.
Well, I think it's a...
Hey, there have been no
Ben
studies.
absolutely
And really, I've
crushes
looked at
this
these studies.
person.
Associate negative things with people of color and positive things with whites. So if that is true, how does it, given that that is true, how does white privilege not exist?
Okay, so you're asking about unconscious bias. I apologize because it's kind of echoey, but the question was, if there is unconscious bias, just to repeat it so I'm making sure I get it right, if there is unconscious bias, how does white privilege not exist?
The question is, given that there is unconscious bias, how does white privilege not exist?
So number one, so when I speak about white privilege, yes, so when I speak about white privilege, I'm speaking specifically about behavior. Okay, there have been no studies, and really I've looked at these studies, the connection between what they call implicit bias, this is their favorite phrase now, implicit bias, unconscious bias, and biased behavior has yet to be proven at any level that is even remotely necessary to be used in, for example, a courtroom, which is why it's never been used in a courtroom. It is also true that there is no way, there really isn't, there's been no proven way to alleviate what they call unconscious bias, which means that we're ghost hunting. So what I would suggest is that if there is unconscious bias, and I'll acknowledge the possibility or the reality of unconscious bias, if there is, then I need you to I don't care about what's in people's heads so much as what they do. So if you point me to a racist behavior, don't worry, I'll let you respond. If you point me to a racist behavior, I'm happy to stand alongside you and protest it. What I can't do is protest about things in people's head that I don't know about because I'm not a mind reader.
Okay, so that's a really interesting response.
This one left me speechless.
Let me ask you, Buddy Roemer gave you $4 million to start TYT. What did he expect in return? Should he not have given you money? Was the money not speech? It was just money, after all. It's just like a hooker, I assume. So are you the prostitute? How did this work?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Health insurance is an earned benefit. It's not given for free to employees, they earn it. Should your employer be able to decide how you spend your money?
Pay for it yourself. Hold up. Hold on, one second. Earned from whom? Okay, I may think that I earn twice the salary that I get from this radio station. That doesn't mean that I have an earned benefit from the radio station for twice what they're willing to pay me. It's always a consensual relationship.
You pay for your health care?
Well, first of all, I do, because it was negotiated in the contract that I signed, in which I voluntarily engaged. And if I don't like that, I can quit tomorrow.
Ben turned the tables on this person.
Judaism must be preserved, since elements like this uphold Jewish national identity and culture, which I don't mind. But the fact that you don't care about the demographic change in America is kind of concerning, because we're all Americans here, right?
Okay.
And the question is, do you want our nation to end up like a third world country such as Brazil, or a disaster like Germany and Sweden right now?
Okay, so Brazil's a second world country. Technically, it's a developing country. It's not like a fully underdeveloped country or a failed state.
Then why is there a far right candidate winning at the moment?
I mean, if you want to argue Brazilian politics, I agree that Brazilian politics has been dominated by the far left, but I'm not sure that that's of tremendous interest. Let's talk about the first question. Okay, when I say I don't care about the browning of America, what I mean is I don't care about ethnicity. It doesn't make any difference to me. The only thing that makes a difference to me is the ideals of the people who are coming across the border. Now, when people say I am pro-illegal immigration, I do not know where in the hell they would possibly get that. This seems to, when people repeatedly say stuff like this, and I see this meme all the time, oh, Shapiro cares about a Jewish ethno-state, but he doesn't care about illegal immigration. I was further right than Donald Trump was in the last election cycle on illegal immigration. I opposed the 2006 amnesty deal. I opposed the 2010 amnesty deal. I've consistently been anti-illegal immigration. I supported the...
This feminist got completely shut down.
I think that women who voted for Hillary, women who have strongly supported the feminist movement and supported the left are feeling disenfranchised given the current climate of sexual brutality and oppression brought to light in Hollywood recently.
In a society that basically reduces sex to any sort, just a physical transaction that is based solely on consent, it makes it very difficult to explain why it is that the casting couch in Hollywood is bad per se. Right? There's actually, like, feminist theory says that it's bad because of power imbalances, but the sort of libertarian culture of the left suggests that power imbalance doesn't have anything to do with it. If I feel like trading my body for a part in a movie, well, that's my business. And if you say differently, then you're slut-shaming me. Right? So that's, well, you can't really have it both ways. Either it's bad or it's not bad. And if we are going to fight sexual harassment and sexual assault, it seems to me that we have to do a couple of things. One, we have to reinvest sex with value beyond just a physical transaction. It's not just two people who are getting each other's rocks off. It actually means something beyond that. There's a relationship that's attached to it. And beyond that, I think that we need to re-inculcate in men themselves, not just the teach men not to rape routine. Like, again, it's such a weird concept. Like, when I was 11, my dad didn't sit me down and say, son, don't rape people. Like, if you have to teach your child that, my guess is that you got a bigger problem than that on your hands.
This is one of the moments that introduced the world of Ben Shapiro.
Zoe Tur, pilot and reporter who herself is transgender, and Ben Shapiro, senior editor, Breitbart News, author of Bullies. Ben, does she deserve this award?
For what?
For courageously coming forward, for having been an athlete of great prowess, and now fighting a new battle.
What exactly is the battle? I mean, self-definition is what you do, and my baby's doing it at 18 months old. I wasn't aware that you get a medal for it.
To come out transgender is horribly difficult. It is the most difficult thing you can do. I've been overseas. I've flown helicopter missions, surveillance missions. I've been shot, stabbed. Being brave is being yourself, and being transgender is about the bravest thing you can do. Did she deserve the award?
65?
Yes.
Why are we mainstreaming delusion?
It's not delusion.
Why would you call it delusion?
Because Bruce Caitlyn Jenner, I'll call him Caitlyn Jenner.
No,
because
it's her. You're not being polite to the pronouns.
Because
disrespectful.
Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings. It turns out that every chromosome, every cell in Caitlyn Jenner's body is male with you.
This atheist got shut down by Ben Shapiro instantly.
I've noticed, in my opinion, I feel like you strawman a lot of atheist arguments. And I was wondering, can you give me your actual definition of atheism? Because I saw the conversation you had with Mr. Prager.
Yes.
Could you expand on that a little bit for me?
Sure. I mean, it would be more fun if you'd give me your definition of atheism, and then we could talk about it.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely. So I understand the dictionary definition of atheism is just somebody...
There is no God, yeah.
Right. But I think it's a little bit deeper than that. And out of the many atheists that I've talked to, you know, I've never met a single one that says that they have empirical knowledge that God doesn't exist, and I feel like that's the argument that you're making. I could be wrong. I don't mean to misquote.
Well, to me, that was the difference definitionally between agnostics and atheists.
Right.
Right. So if you want to say that, if we want to talk about agnosticism and say maybe God exists, maybe doesn't, but I don't have evidence of it, so I don't believe. You know, that's borderline agnostic atheist. That's fine. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, to my central argument, whether you're an agnostic or an atheist, the bottom line is that without the belief that there is a purpose to the universe, without a belief that there is a purpose to your life, without a belief that you have the capacity to make individual choices, it's very difficult to build a civilization. And by difficult, I mean impossible.
Okay. So on that note of free will, which is what you're talking about, right?
Yes. I think free will, by the way, is the single most important principle undergirding any civilization.
Okay, absolutely. And to be totally honest with you, I'm torn on the subject myself.
Yeah.
And which is why...
But in your own life, you're not, because you chose to come here and you chose to ask me a question, right?
It's complicated.
I would hate to think that the universe randomly imbued you with a set of atoms that showed up here randomly to ask me a question. That would be very disappointing to me.
Citing a law that's no longer in use also happens to be decades old isn't the best look.
Racism is brought up.
Sure.
You always ask, where is the institution? Show me the racist laws so that we can fight them together.
Correct.
Welcome to Alabama. This would qualify as a racist institution, the state of Alabama.
So now I go back to the question that you say that you answered, which is, show me the law. You've named an institution you don't like. Now show me the law.
No, it's not an institution I don't like. I've lived here my whole life. But
I mean, you called it racist, so I assume you're not super fond of it.
Yeah, it has flaws, to say the least. But the Constitution of Alabama demands that schools be segregated by race. If it weren't for the federal government, there would only be white people in this room.
I will admit to you, okay, so a couple of...
Their faces went from a smile to a serious very, very quickly.
Argue that racism is not a driving factor in income inequality.
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't... And when you know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
Shapiro never misses, and this just shows it.
So, on the way over here, we got in a discussion about the wage gap. What would your opinion on this?
I mean, it's not my opinion, it's statistical fact. This is bullshit. Okay, the 78 cents on the dollar myth is just that. It's a myth. Time magazine actually found as early as 2010 that in the 50 biggest cities in the United States, women were actually earning more than men. If they had the same job qualifications, the same number of years in the workforce, the same number of hours worked, the reason that women on average are paid less is because women take time off, they take less risky jobs, they don't take as much time at work, they would rather be home with their families. These are choices that women make, and it's astonishing to me that feminists actually degrade those choices as though it's a terrible thing when a woman takes time off. Well, it's her choice. I mean, I thought that was your whole deal.
Ben really put this argument very bluntly.
Exactly. It truly is amazing, actually, how history repeats itself. The argument in favor of abortion is exactly the same as the argument in favor of slavery. Exactly the same, right? You're on my land. I get to decide. It's up to me to decide whether you're a person or property. It's up to me, right? What are you going to say? It's on my land. What are you going to do about it?
Yet another infamous Ben Shapiro clip.
How do you say that some people don't have privilege when you basically just said that trans people aren't valid? They're not a thing. They're just girls pretending to be boys or boys pretending to be girls.
Okay. Oh, someone's excited. Okay.
Biological, but gender is a completely different thing.
No, gender is not disconnected from sex. So.
It's not completely disconnected, but it's still a cultural thing. It's still from society. It's
okay. No, it is not in the mind. Okay, you're not a man if you think you're a man. And I didn't say pretending, or if I did, I shouldn't have said pretending. Let me amend.
You said playing.
Okay, I said a boy who thinks he's a girl. That's the usual phraseology I use. Not playing. I usually say a boy who thinks he's a girl or a girl who thinks he's a boy, which is technically what we're talking about here. As far as the actual psychological issues at play, it used to be called gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. Now they call it gender dysphoria. The idea that sex or gender are malleable is not true. Okay, and I'm not denying your humanity if you're a transgender person. I am saying that you are not the sex to which you claim to be. You're still a human being, and you're a human being with an issue that I wish you Godspeed in dealing with in whatever way you see fit. But if you are going to dictate to me that I'm supposed to pretend that men are women and women are men, no. My answer is no. I'm not going to modify basic biology because it threatens your subjective sense of what you are.
Ben never fails to have a well-formulated response to every question he gets asked.
This whole idea of freedom of speech and this conversation is very important to me, and I'm glad to have you on to talk about it. So what started out as a neo-Nazi murder in Charlottesville and the president's failure to denounce Nazi and white supremacists exploded into a discussion in this country about the removal of Confederate statues. Have we gotten away from the point of what happened in Charlottesville, what it was really about?
And it seems to me we clearly have, and I think that was the point of the alt-right and the white supremacists seizing on an issue that they know that there's actually broad public consensus on not moving a lot of these statues. There's a Quinnipiac poll that came out today showing that 50 to 39 Americans aren't big on the idea of moving all these statues out. So they seized on an issue that they think is a winning issue for them and then tried to broaden out their appeal that way. And I think a lot of folks on the left fell for it. They want to have this discussion anyway, and so they saw the opportunity to have this discussion, but it seems like a misdirection from what actually happened in Charlottesville. The issue in Charlottesville is white supremacy, not whether some people think that statues should come down or stay up, because clearly 50% of the American population doesn't want to keep these statues up just because they're a bunch of white supremacist racists.
Did liberals get played by President Trump?
I think pretty clearly they definitely fell for what was, whether he plans it or not, a trap for the left. I mean, he said, you guys don't have a limiting principle. You're going to go after statues of George Washington or Christopher Columbus or Thomas Jefferson. And now you're seeing that actually happen on the left. The most obvious stupid case is this banning of this reporter from ESPN named Robert Lee, an Asian guy, from covering an event at University of Virginia.
Ben Shapiro was not happy about these protesters invading his page.
This is whiny nonsense.
That's it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys did enjoy, then make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time, I guess. And you know how it is. Take care.